How are we feeling about the state of technology changes and real estate editing and media?
There's entirely new categories of things that are now economically possible to raise the game in real estate videography.
How can we make that faster? Editing process, post-production obviously is a bottleneck. Being able to do your editing entirely in an automated workflow is very exciting.
Pixlmob saves all my evenings from having to be editing already.
What are the things I should be doing from a practical, tactical standpoint? Pixlmob offering AI-empowered or AI-enabled services to the market.
So if you're a photographer watching this and you're not thinking about that, start thinking about it. Don't get left behind.
Turn it up.
Good morning, or afternoon, or evening, Moses and Maddie. We're just starting off straight off with the...
It's afternoon for all of us, Andrew.
That's true. Right now at the time, whenever we're all listening to this. Thanks for being here. Thanks for talking about real estate, media, post-production, editing, AI, the whole gamut. So we're really excited. There's been a lot of things happening in the last couple years, couple weeks, even the last couple days it feels. And there's so much changing, and we see new tools coming onto the market, all kinds of new ways to provide real estate media marketing services to our downstream clients, agents, etc. Last time when we were here, we were talking through AI Clips, which is our new service for generating videos from static images. And so we're really excited about that. And we've actually, Maddie, I'm curious to hear from you some of the things that have been interesting, surprising as we've been seeing that roll out. So we'll definitely dive into that. But I'm curious, just from a big picture overview, how are we feeling? What do you feel like is the state? It feels like there's something new every day. How are we feeling about the state of technology changes and real estate editing and media, as well as maybe what we're most excited about right now? Let's dive into that. Moses, why don't we start with you?
It's been pretty exciting to launch in general. We've got some great initial traction with people finding uses for the product. So I run occasional onboarding calls for users. It's been pretty fun to hear people's reactions, particularly even just walking through potential use cases with them and seeing their eyes light up of, oh man, so if I'm trying to shoot a video with a bright window right behind it that would be really difficult to expose, typically I could just take a photo and have a beautifully exposed shot. Instead of sticking around for an hour at a location and taking away from family time or whatever to get an actual day to dusk video, you can actually just convert a day to dusk photo into a beautiful day to dusk conversion. Virtual staging is the one that really seems to get people's gears going. This is not just a new way of doing something. There's entirely new categories of things that are now economically possible to raise the game in real estate videography. So those are pretty exciting to me.
Amazing. Maddie, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think the pace at which AI technologies are, it's not just AI, but I think we lump all these new advancements under the AI umbrella, but let's just go with it. So we're seeing weekly on the global stage, there's new technology coming out all the time, and it ripples down into all kinds of categories. Obviously in real estate media, some of the things that our industry has been paying a lot of attention to is the visual side. Obviously we create visuals every day in, day out. How can we make that faster? Editing process, post-production obviously is a bottleneck. It's an expense that has to be taken into consideration. And so I think there's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of really cool stuff that I think is changing the game. And Pixlmob, obviously we have a marketplace for real estate photographers to find editors, and we offer all kinds of services specific to real estate post-production. And so we're very interested in all of the cool things that are happening, and we're also very interested in developing and coaching along that technology, creating new opportunities in our industry as well. We've been talking about AI clips. We see a lot of possibilities there where you can take an image and turn it into videos. And Moses was just saying all of the things that you can do, and you can edit in a photo, you can now have edited in a video clip And that creates all kinds of possibilities, things that just weren't affordable to do before, and also had a lot of complicated steps. And sourcing would be hard even if you could afford it. Some other cool things that I've been seeing in that regard, in that little subsection, is been seeing people even doing like renderings, where they take like a 3D rendering of a potential building that's going to be like on an aerial shot and then turn those into clips, which I think is pretty cool. And I even saw someone yesterday put in an order for a 360 image, but they have this thing that you can do with a 360 camera. It's called a little world. And basically, because it's got a 360 image, it can be stretched down and it looks like a little, wherever you're standing, it looks like this little orb in the middle of the thing. And they wanted to turn that into a clip, and it looked pretty cool. So I think there's going to be all kinds of really cool creative things that we haven't even really started to imagine. I think the creative opportunities there are huge. And then beyond clips, I think there's the prospect of being able to do your editing entirely in an automated workflow is very exciting. And so I think we're seeing new things coming out that are trying to make that dream a reality. And we're also really excited about being able to create things that are also going to work in that field too.
Yeah, I was going to mention, or Moses, I don't know if you had something to add to the building Reddit. That surprised me. I hadn't heard of that bit yet. But
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I haven't heard that one yet either, but that's a great use case. Those kinds of things, as people get creative with it, I think are like, we don't even know all the things people are going to use this for yet. But I think one other big thing that I've been excited to see talking with the customers is them zeroing in on the potential time saving of this. So I haven't really had anyone, I think when we're bringing this to market, we were a little concerned, like somebody might be upset as taking away from a videography or something like that. And I'm sure those people are out there. I think everyone I've talked to has not felt that way. They've seen this as a new creative opportunity, and they've seen it as a new way to choose how to spend their time. So I've had some that have zeroed in on the time saving component, and one of them even was like relaying back to me, essentially, Pixlmob saves all my evenings from having to be editing already. But now if I can just go and get basic videography done without having to shoot videography, then that saves me another hour and a half on site. So instead of, let's say 6 months ago, having to spend 2 to 3 hours on site to get photography and videography done, now you can just spend 45 minutes to an hour, get the photography done, and generate what he needs to out of that content, which is a massive potential impact on a business's bottom line. Because if his max capacity before was like 4 or 5 shoots in a day, and now it's 7 or 8 shoots in a day, that's a potential like 30 to 40% increase in revenue, which that should be exciting to business owners. And it's exciting to see, because that's part of the ethos of what we started with Pixlmob, was how do we save time for business owners who want to scale their businesses. And this is just like a new method of doing the same thing.
Absolutely. I think one key thing I'm going to extract from that is, as we've been doing a lot of these individual onboarding calls, I think when we're talking about this, we talk about time savings, and that's a major factor. I think another major unrealized cost or opportunity for improvement is a matter of mental clarity or mental space being saved. Because when you don't have to think about all the different things you need to do, it's not even just the time, it's that, oh, I'm thinking about, I need to get that photo back, I need to follow up with the editor, I need to do all of these things, and you're not able to be present in either whatever the business task or project that you're working on right now, or with family or the rest of life. And so it's the time savings and then also mental clarity that it's allowing us to really have more of as technology advances and gives us more opportunity for that. So that's one key thing I wanted to extract that I have noticed on quite a few of our latest calls.
Yeah, the one I had this morning was fascinating to me because it was reverse from typical. So typically, I'm talking to a consumer, they've come to Pixlmob to get editing done. That's the primary thing that people use Pixlmob for until 2 or 3 weeks ago, right? They come for that, and then they find AI clips, and they're like, hey, this is pretty sweet. But he found AI clips and was like, what does the rest of this site do? So we were talking through AI clips and applications, and he was really stoked about that. But then we started talking about the project management tools and like how you can bundle all of the different components into one order. And by the end of the call, he's volunteering essentially, okay, so the clips are really cool as a new product that I can use, but it would make sense for me to start onboarding like how I do these other projects. So he has other systems that do those currently, but now, like you're talking about with mental clarity, it's easy for him to just package them into one spot and set it and forget it to get everything delivered and returned. So he doesn't have to to have that mental load of, I got to get this from this place and this from this place and this from this place. And then I got to do this myself to really get it complete and deliver it to the client. You just have it one spot, know it's done, and then take all the finished assets and go deliver it.
Absolutely, 100%. Yes. We'll get to the business side of things a little bit later on of optimization. We've already started talking a little bit about that, but I remember one conversation I had with a photographer earlier this week was, this year, it's all about shooting less photos myself and sending more invoices. That's my goal for this year. I said, that sounds like a worthy goal. It's perfect. Yeah. So I think that's 100% finding the more optimal ways to do that is definitely awesome. So we'll get to some business optimization, RevOps or revenue optimization in a moment. But Maddie, I want to come back to you and ask specifically about on, I guess we'd call it creative or operational side of what day-to-day looks like on the shoot from beginning to end. Can you walk us through maybe, and feel free to expound upon this, but can you walk us through how a traditional real estate photo shoot and how AI clips and this sort of thing, how it's going to be transformed and how it's going to look different maybe in the future?
I'm going to paint with some broad strokes here.
Big disclaimer, asterisk, 3 of them.
But I do think some things we can expect to see is that things are going to just get faster. A couple things, even this is an AI thing, but even technology like Starlink and being able to use that in the field to upload quickly, and then tools that allow you to edit on the fly or upload files, get them back very quickly, allows for some new service types to be able to do same day editing and things like that. It may not be the perfect tools to do more finessed editing and higher scale. I think there's going to be a range. With our real estate media businesses, we would occasionally have requests for same day edits. I don't know how often that happens for other people, but I'm going to say it's like 1 in 30 maybe, or no, maybe even less than that, 1 in 50, that you'd get an order that was like, we want something expedited. So I do think it's going to create opportunities for that kind of thing. I think on the clip side, it creates opportunities for people who don't know how to shoot video at all. And maybe they've been intimidated by the idea of shooting video or offering video, and they have to go get new equipment or they have to learn new skills. This allows you to take your photos that already exist and turn them into clips, offer a video product. I've said this before, if you've got a team or you're interested in growing a team and you have the same kind of scaling problem where people don't have the skills or the equipment to shoot video, now anyone on your team can shoot video if they can do the photos. So I think that part of it creates a lot of flexibility. I'm also really excited about some of the creative opportunities that you wouldn't have otherwise, new kinds of shots potentially down the road that you could generate or simulate that would be difficult to do, or very, like when FPV drones came out, this was like all the rage for 6 months. People flying drones at 60 miles an hour through a kitchen and living room out the back window. And it looks cool, but there's a very few amount of people who can pull it off. And there's even less amount of people that are willing to take the risk, take on that liability to do that. And that kind of stuff.
And not only that, drone companies made a lot of money with those wrecks.
I'm sure.
Right.
And I think about at the end of the process, the whole goal of having the images, videos, etc., is selling a home, is helping someone be able to visualize themselves there. And when you're having a drone shot go speeding through a house, you're like, wait, life flashed by. That was a quick life in that home. Yeah. So I imagine it's difficult to visualize. Absolutely.
Well, the other side of it is, too, is that kind of stuff isn't necessarily about showing the house. Sometimes it's about being eye-catching, stopping your scroll. I think there's stuff that AI can do that'll also do very similar kind of scroll stopping hooks and things like that you can generate with AI that will make for some flashy social media content, which I think a lot of agents are looking for that kind of content as well. So
Moses, on that note, actually, as a former real estate agent yourself, that's in just
you gotta always bring up my sordid past, Andrew.
I feel like it's worthy and valid. You rose to the heights and now you're trying to change the industry from within or something like that.
Now I'm here for the everyman. Absolutely.
You're here for the everyman. Exactly. Yes, your past experience gives that. But one of the things I thought as a former real estate agent in thinking about how, from that perspective, the customer perspective, is there anything about the new mediums or new opportunities that excite you from the customer or agent perspective?
Yeah. So I think, back when I was actively selling, which was a few years ago, and reels and things like that weren't quite as dominant as they are today even, but it was trending that direction. So I think 5-6 years ago, back, try to price out, like, how would I researched 2 things. A, how much content would I have to create to really start to rank well as a realtor in social feeds, which is a lot of content, like 20 to 50 pieces of video content a month. That's a good chunk. But to create that, I would have had to, in my case, pay somebody else to create the quality of content that I would have wanted. And it would have cost several $1,000s a month at a minimum to create good enough content for the amount that was truly needed. So what I saw was a lot of people they'd create 2 reels because they could afford to create 2 reels, which wasn't enough to get to the inflection point of like really starting to dominate. So they would do a little better, but it wasn't enough because there's a differential between the amount that media companies needed to charge and what the realtor is willing to pay. So their budget is probably only a few $100s max per house typically. So it never quite worked. So you'd have some agents who would commit and go all in and do it, but not many. And it definitely didn't start to shift the industry toward video. It's still, I think, less than 20 to 25% of houses actually even have any video shot, much less like a real campaign. AI starts to change all of that. So one of the benefits of starting to push costs of things down means that it may align the actual available budgets for marketing of realtors in the space with the ability of media companies to produce low-cost media and still make good money themselves. That's one of the things that I'm really interested to watch in the industry as a whole is if AI can create some short-form media content that functions well enough for realtors, then media companies can actually sell more because there's more of a connection between their primary user and a price match. There's product market fit that I don't think has ever existed in the industry yet. Realtors want more media than they can afford. So if we can produce more media that they can afford in a way that's cost effective and profitable for a real estate company, that's a huge win for the industry. And frankly, for the world in terms of actually showcasing these places around the world in new ways that have previously been prohibitive economically.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. I think that the number one thing that I've heard in the last few years that I very much so agree with is the concept of everyone is thinking about how AI is going to replace, how it's going to displace previous careers, etc. But I wonder about how much more we can do with AI instead of replacing. What can we do with a little more resources, more humans involved in the process, more, or a lot more?
Yeah.
Right. So doing way more with the same amount. I think that's what this technology is as it applies across the industry. It's less about replacement and more about being able to do more with either less or the same resources, and that's providing more opportunity for within budgets you can actually do more. And so that's an incredibly valuable thing to remember.
I think one of the things that people are concerned about is that AI is going to drop the price of videography. And if you're a videographer, then you'll love that, right? However, I think if we position well as an industry, you've got an opportunity to still sell like custom videography and maybe even raise that price point, while you have an opportunity to also sell much more consistently a lower end product that the realtors can actually regularly afford. So we don't need to think about it just as like, hey, what if this takes away from $1,000 shoot that I get every once in a while? I would think about it as, what if you could sell a $200 or a $300 video on every single shoot? Because one of the beauties of real estate media is it's extremely repetitive and extremely procedural. So for those clients who just need that procedural content, you can deliver that now easier than ever. And for your clients who want that artistic eye and that artistic intent and that custom designed video, you can charge even more. So if we're smart about how you position the business, I think you've got 2 different value propositions that can be layered into a business that are complementary to each other, and I think will allow you to grow your videography business even better, unless you stick your head in the sand and try to convince yourself that nothing's changing and everything about this is the only way to do it. But honestly, I don't think the industry is going to do that. I think we see the creative potential and we're excited about it by and large.
Yeah, if I can throw in on that too. I mean, Andrew, you brought up the idea of replacing, displacing, and in following up kind of just what Moses is saying here. Like, I do think that there will be things that will be replaced, parts of the job. I don't think the whole, but I do think that it's going to lower the bar of entry, barrier to entry. Expectations already are that every real estate listing is going to have some kind of media, right? I'm going to throw a little context in there. Like, but my background is in producing high production value commercials and advertising, film and TV. And so like I spent years working in New York City directing and producing high production videos that, usually well over $1 million budgets, sometimes millions of dollars in campaigns, international campaigns. And getting into real estate media during COVID, for me, I was a little bit skeptical by the fact that you'd sell something for, $500. And the cool part about it to me was that you would shoot it. It would take almost no creative new energy. The initial creative energy was in your product offering. And then basically it was just rinse and repeat. And the only kind of nuance is what's the specifics of the home or property. But essentially you had predefined products. You weren't making custom videos every time. Every video was basically the same. It was a template. It followed a formula. And so they're really not buying this custom thing from you unless that is part of your offering. So what Moses is talking about here is actually kind of where this new distinction is going to come into play. And I think we're already seeing it in our industry where we're seeing an uptick, a swell of talent that's coming into the industry around this bespoke and custom stuff for real estate. And people want to stand out and make a name for themselves. But they're doing it at a much higher price point. The price point that actual custom videos should be charged for. And not every market can afford that. There might be we live in upstate South Carolina. There's a very small percentage of real estate that's over $1 million. And, so there's not going to be a huge market for luxury media and bespoke. So our business is more about a volume. And I think a lot of people across the US, that's the case. It's a volume game. And you beat the house by looking for the best unit economics and trying to create something that's formulaic and simple, and you're not making unique decisions every time. However, there are definitely business opportunities for those who can offer bespoke video. And so anyways, I do think what we're talking about is it's going to be a bit of a leveling of the playing field, which has pros and cons. I don't think we need to be hiding from that. I think that we're going to see a lot of new people coming into the industry because the barrier to entry is going to drop with some of these tools. You're going to need less technology. You're going to need less training and less studying and less taste and eye to be able to create something that looks good. And that means is if you want to grow a volume business, you can do that. That opens up a lot of opportunities. So, and also if you want to make your business about making bespoke video, you have more opportunity to make more money.
Because you can stand out. So if there's a whole army of people who can produce the rank and file content for the industry, if you truly have an artistic eye and are offering something new and creative that is valuable to your clients, it stands out even more. So anyway, I think there's great ways to position on both sides of that.
Absolutely. I love that. One of the things I want to end with today that I'll ask the question is as more of a call to action. We could transition to that now, but I'd like to move on to AI philosophy and your thoughts on that. But one of the things I wanted to ask about was actionable steps of what do you think that photographers should be doing right now? So we'll end on that, but just be thinking about that.
Anything but stick your head in the sand.
I hear that the sand is a really great, a really great place to be these days, but
it's coarse and irritating and it gets everywhere.
That is fair. Maddie, you mentioned a couple things earlier, and so I wanted to make sure we dug into that. Philosophy about AI as Pixlmob is developing products and services around this to empower photographers and media professionals. Can you give me a few more details or maybe more insight into what is Pixlmob's philosophy going forward as we think about the future of AI in real estate?
Well, so I think this is going to apply to every product that we think about and consider within Pixlmob. We want to be able to offer something that is production ready. That means it can scale. That means that it can grow with your company from the smallest sizes to the largest. Pixlmob has been built around the idea of outsourcing. The majority of our products, and I should say services on Pixlmob right now, are heavily reliant on humans to go in and do something. You're handing off and you want it to come back complete and ready to deliver with minimal interaction, hopefully, and minimal back and forth, but also making it as smooth and easy to make those revisions as possible. I think those same kind of things, those kind of decisions about the products we're going to be offering an AI tool lineup absolutely apply here as well. And so we want to find things that are going to be relevant, obviously, that are useful, not just gimmicks and toys, but has the ability to scale with your business. A big part of that is pricing too. So scale isn't just about, can the thing be complete? That is a massive part of of the consideration, but like, is it affordable? And is there use cases where not every product makes sense for everybody in a platform? And so within that kind of decision-making ability, you have options, a lot of options about what works for you in your business around pricing, around quality, around turnaround times, all those things. I think as we're thinking about tools that we can either provide for the user themselves, the photographers, or we can provide to editors to make their work faster and more reliable. We want that same kind of range and realize that not everything is cookie cutter. It's not always going to be the same. But I do think consistency is one of those things that everyone's looking for. We're looking for consistency in results. I would say when we're talking about AI editing, photo editing, I think that's one of the most exciting opportunities, is that we can bring more consistency to an editor or directly to the photographer. And whether that's in, fixing verticals or doing quality control, and you're going to get a more consistent output. So I think that, trying to sum that up, we want to create things that are going to have production ready scale and people can implement in their business, and they be complete solutions so that you can basically hand it off just like you can in any other case, that the flow that you're already used to, in that you get a complete finished product when you're done.
I love that. I think one key takeaway that I see is like doing less with more. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Or sorry, not doing less with more. Doing more with the same amount of resources, or a lot more with a little more resources, is if you can take out even 25, 50, 70% of the work of editing or post-production, and maybe you still have humans in the loop, right? I think that's something that we're missing, is we're going straight to automation. If you have quality control, we're able to actually get better outputs from even having the existing systems, the existing, post-production managers, quality control, editors, etc., to produce better. So that's something that I'm most definitely excited about as well. Moses, did you have something to add to that?
Yeah, so I think to dovetail on what Maddie is saying, there's a principle that Pixlmob's operated on since the beginning, that we're here to create a done-for-you solution where the post-production component can be completed at a professional level that's designed for repeat. And I think like right now, there's a lot of interesting AI products in the space, and the ones that we're gravitating to are the ones that we can actually deliver to that standard. And I think what some of the challenges right now in the AI space are, there's a lot of people rushing things to market that don't quite get it done. And so it ends up kind of like, hey, this is a cool idea, but it ends up not being complete enough for a professional to actually deliver to their client. So that work ends up landing back in their plate. I think you'll see that reduced as we keep in this journey together into the AI space. You see the AI get better and better and better. But at least right now, there's a middle ground. For a lot of professionals, they're not able to actually adopt a true AI edit tool because it only gets it 80% of the time. Like, it nails some of them, but then others are a big miss. And if I'm a professional photographer and I've got to deliver those the next morning, then all of those that are a big miss means, I've got a shoot to do at 8 a.m. Like, I don't have time to fix even 5 or 6 photos. I need to know that they're going to be done.
And that you don't have 7 fingers or something. Delivery. And that you don't have 7 fingers or, something strange going on in the background.
Yeah. Any number of things can go wrong. And if you've ever used one of these tools, you know what I'm talking about. There's going to be a bunch of images that it just nails because they're formulaic enough that machine learning grabs onto it and it pumps it out, and it's almost as good as a human edit right now. But then, if you're trying to edit 25 or 30 of them, maybe there's 4 or 5 that you're like, I'm going to deliver that to my client. And if you deliver stuff like that to your client repetitively, then you start to degrade that relationship, which is your bread and butter. Then I think a lot of pros know that. And so there's a lot of hesitancy in the industry around AI right now. And a lot of people are wait and see. And we hope to help navigate and help lead in the industry toward actually rolling out solutions that truly work for professionals, that aren't gimmicky, and they're not just like, hey, well, because we can do this, we'll offer it to you. We want to roll out the right products that work in this space.
Yeah, I think this is something that has come up on many of our even individual calls, or as we talk to other real estate photographers. We miss sometimes that what we're really trying to do at the very end of the day is we're photographers, and maybe I can use the word artists in that sense. We're trying to pursue excellence in that way in the craft. We don't want to do a shoddy job, but at the same time, we have a business. We're running a business. We're establishing business relationships with agents. And one of the main benefits is that it is such a repeatable, process-oriented business, right? You are going on site, you're doing pretty much the same thing every single day with not a lot of operational changes. But then there's editing the variants and variables in that in our conversations. I think we're often talking about increasing the predictability of success, or we really want to, in order to build a scalable or systemic process-oriented business that isn't running us. We're actually running the business and we're able to have our life, or be able to actually build a business that is sustainable. I think that's something that is, in my view, in my perspective, the principle to remember is that we're trying to have essentially a turnkey black box. Like, hey, if we can move these into post-production, they come out and they are 100%, we know it's going to be an effective, amazing marketing package for a home. That's really powerful, I think. But that transitions us into a really great next step. I think moving into more of the business side of things and more of how do we sell this? How do we, package this together? I think we've already been having some of those conversations internally and with Pixlmob customers.
I think it's a little bit early days to give you some definitive things, but I can throw out some ideas, even things that we're experimenting on with our media company. I think it creates opportunity to showcase ideas very inexpensively. And so being able to render out a few clips and cut them into a 10-second kind of reel and give that as kind of like a bonus thing, I think creates some loyalty with your customers, and also kind of like lets you see how they like it. Maybe you can sell these. Maybe you can sell a package of reels for $100, and maybe it's $200 for a pack of 5, and they're 10 seconds each, and you're going to recycle existing photos that look dynamic and real as video clips. Sometimes you'll see slideshows and things like this. I think this is kind of like a way to be able to reuse photos that people wanted to do. They see that as like, there's this latent possibility, but it looks cheesy. I think there's a lot of realtors that want an opportunity to use their investment in their photos better. And so this is that opportunity to say, hey, I've got a product, and, you make a small investment to, get a few of them, send it to them for free, and see how they like it. And then you're selling them in little bundles. I think that you can also tie that into your other packages, a photo shoot plus reels package, where basically you shoot it once. Your cost on location is exactly the same. It's only new sales. So you want your margins to be as good as possible, but like you're making more money off of the work you've already done. So I think there's a lot of opportunities like that. I think, Moses, that sparked something for you.
Yeah, I think there's one product in my mind that I think makes a lot of sense for most realtors pretty much anywhere. And it's a product where you take the photos, maybe by room, and you generate really short form content. So maybe think 5 to 15 seconds long. So that might be producing maybe 3, maybe 5 clips through how Pixlmob does it, at least. But intentionally don't show the whole house. You intentionally show like the kitchen and maybe a lead into a cool living room. That's it. You show the inside and the entryway. You show the pool and you show the back porch. And that's it. Because the main thing that realtors want through social media is engagement with their following. They want the comment that's, man, what does the rest of this thing look like? They want the engagement because they want to capture the user who wants to actually buy the house, or at least interact around it, right? I wonder if this is a huge opportunity that you can easily create 5 to 10 of those out of a normal photo shoot and package that as a bundle. And not just because you can, but because I think that's truly a method in which you could help your users to actually convert sales and actually engage with their following on social media. Because I think so often we're not actually selling the value of what we're doing. We're selling a beautiful story of the house and how you live in the house, or whatever it is. There's nothing wrong with that. It's beautiful, and some people love to watch them, but I don't think they're very eye-catching, and I don't think they're grabbing, and I don't think they're very conversation starting online. Whereas a fun caption or a question about a portion of the house can spark a conversation, can spark a comment. And since we can now create those brutally cheaply, you can take those and use them as bundles and packages in ways that realtors have never seen before. So if you're the first one to bring that to market, go capture another 50 realtors and double your business. So I think it's a really cool time to be a real estate photographer. Go figure out how to use it. This is just one idea. There's probably 100 others that I've never even thought of.
100%. All I'm kind of getting out of that is a new service coming soon to Pixlmob. Trailers. Get a sneak peek. Give your homeowners a sneak peek of
Yes.
teasers. That's right. Yeah.
I'll start a a side hustle doing voiceovers for them.
That's
Coming
great.
soon, 123 Main Street.
And Pixlmob customers will now be able to use your voiceover. Is that what we're gonna do? Use Moses,
I don't know. Maybe we can AI
Powered
clone
by-
it. Yeah, that'd be fun.
powered by 11 Labs. Amazing. Yeah, thank you for that. That's a really great insight. I think that actually transitions really well into, given all this, what are some of the things that we should be doing? If I'm a real estate photographer, what should I be thinking about? What should I be doing right now to really make sure I'm capturing the value of what's going on out there and not being overwhelmed maybe by the everyday news of something new? Like, what are the things I should be doing from a practical, tactical standpoint? Maddie.
Yeah, I hope this is some practical advice. I think when you see something interesting, bookmark it, jot it down, wherever you save things, put it in Notion, on a Google Doc, wherever those things live. Make a Google Doc, start doing this, but keep a record.
Well, if you're Maddie, it's just 97.
Yeah, just keep your tabs open.
Chrome.
Yeah, yes,
And you just buy more RAM every month.
Yes.
So if you
Your
ask
own
Maddie to
personal
keep tabs, on something, that's not an effective.
He will.
Yep.
He will, in fact, keep a tab open
Yep.
of it.
Yep, exactly. Whatever methodology, no judgment at all from us about how you do that, of course. But then find the time for you to go experiment. So I think some of the most helpful things you can do is to just get hands-on. I know it can be intimidating, and sometimes it seems like there's a lot of precursor steps in maybe you don't do it because you hear about things, but it seems like you don't know what the application is for you yet or why it'd be valuable. I think the most I've gained out of any of these tools has just been by playing around with it and seeing what its limitations are for myself. And the more I use it, the more capable I realize it is. I think a lot of people prejudge some of these tools thinking, well, it has limitations, thus it's not good. And I think that's an absolute mistake. It will sneak up on you fast and you'll be behind before you know it. So the other thing is you can have a backlog. I don't think there's anyone on the planet that's caught up on all of the news. I mean, there's 100 launches a week of new things, new tools, new conversations.
It is tough.
Yeah.
Though I will say you can ask ChatGPT I'll ask it on Monday. Just turn on the little web search thing and ask it what are the top 10 things that have happened in AI in the last week. Been kind of helpful for me.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, I think
Get your news headlines and highlights summarized so you don't have to.
ChatGPT.
Yeah, I actually got that idea from somebody I follow on Twitter who kept doing this, and he was like building a following of doing 10, like these are the 10 things that happened in AI last week.
Is it Rowan?
And then he started
Rowan?
getting eviscerated in his content, like in his threads. They were like, "Why aren't you just having ChatGPT do this? You just ask." I was like, "Hey, that's a brilliant idea." But then he responded, he was like, "How do you think I know what's happening?"
That's incredible. A great, non-media related use case for AI, which is actually maybe what we should be experimenting.
Keeping up with crap.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Keeping up with crap. Hosted by Moses. New podcast coming to you next week.
Hey, that'd be kind of fun.
I'm a fan for, keeping tabs with Maddie and keeping up with crap, Moses. Those are the two.
Tabs with Maddie and keeping up with crap with Moses.
I'm
I need to be
a
more
fan.
alliterated.
I'll be a first-time, long-time listener for sure. One other quick thing I wanted to plug before we left today. AI Clips is a new service, and this is actually one of the first elements of us, Pixlmob, offering AI-empowered or AI-enabled services to the market. I think one thing that has come up in some of the conversations that we've had, both internally and with our customers, is what is different about AI Clips that someone should go with AI Clips or versus maybe other options out there? What's the main value of using AI Clips?
So I think
I'll let Maddie take that.
Yeah,
the main thing-
sorry, cut real quick. Differentiation of the human, in the loop kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because that's a major value point for onboarding calls that I've had. So sorry to precursor that.
Yeah, I think the main value proposition that we've designed AI Clips around as the Pixlmob offering is that it is a complete solution that allows you to take clips just as if and deliver them to your editor just as if you would shot them on location, and hopefully without any major hallucinations. And we have certain constraints built into AI Clips so that AI doesn't have to reinvent what's outside the boundaries of what your original frame is. We don't don't talk about this a lot in our marketing, but if you've ever done a trial of AI clips, you'll see that we have a handful of very specific camera movements that are very dialed in. And so you're not getting these big, crazy, like drone shots that are flying over the house, and it has to make up what the backyard looks like and the neighborhood beyond and what the hills and horizon looks like. Same thing when we're inside. We have very controlled camera moves, so that way you're not making up if there's a door on the other side of the frame that you can't see. So, and all this is done because there's a human in the loop. There is a human that is seeing these clips. They're giving intent around which camera moves are going to work best for that photo. And that, I think, is a major distinction. And so that way, when you get your clips back, you can send them off with confidence that there's actually editable, usable content. And so I think that's the major distinction, in that it's also made for you to do bulk, for you to convert every single photo in your library, add extra camera moves if you want to, have options for your editors, if you want it to be able to doing a push in or pull out versus an arcing movement. You can get both, or maybe a pedestal shot or something like that. So we want to add more things down the road for higher quality and higher resolution. I think that's going to be an added step that's going to make it more close to what you would expect from an out of camera footage. So I think that's the main distinction. Puts it in the flow that you're already using. You're working with an editor. You're going to make your videos the way you make your videos.
Amazing.
So that's what I would zero in on. Is this is available right now that you can make money with it. Like, you can immediately go back to your menu, and I think every single photographer should be looking at their menu of services and thinking, what should I charge for video virtual staging? What should I charge for data dusk in video? What should I charge for object removal in video? Because those all became stupid easy and time saving in a way that those are valuable. Those are valuable to the photographers and client. And they should be thinking about short form reels. They should be thinking about new types of products and categories that they can add to their menu, because technology is making that possible. So how can the photographer use that to sell more product in more valuable ways to their clients? So if you're a photographer watching this and you're not thinking about that, start thinking about it. Don't get left behind.
That's great. So as I'm thinking about what we've talked about today, I think there's three primary things, if I can summarize, and feel free to add some more elements in here. The first is, as these new technologies come on the market and as new things come into view, make sure to not only focus on the time savings, that they can bring us, but also the mental clarity and the mental space to be able to focus on other things. And so that's number one. Number two is find ways to use these new things, whether it's AI or additional services, to add more value to customers and increase the value they're able to give to your customers and agents. And I think the third is, if you haven't already tried AI clips, that's something we're really proud and really excited about. But I think
Play with it.
Go play with it. We have a free trial available right now, so you're able to do that, and it's an incredible way to start bringing your images to life. So yeah, anything else that you, Maddie, Moses, you'd like to add before we wrap today?
I think it sounds pretty good.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for the conversation, and we'll see you next time.